We continue our reading of God's Dream for You, The Chosen, a morning devotional by author Dwight K. Nelson. Today's reading is August 15, Moral Giants in an Age of Pygmies. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to save us from it, and he will rescue us from your hand, O king. But even if he does not, we want you to know, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Daniel 3:16-18. You have to admire the moral courage of these three Hebrew court officials, don't you? Talk about countercultural. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, not to mention Daniel, has stood out in the profligate court of the king of Babylon like sore thumbs more than once. And now they absolutely decry Nebuchadnezzar's command and refuse to even nod the head, let alone bend the knee to his golden image. What would you have done? What would I do? Do you know why they passed their final exam with flying colors? It's one of the surest and oldest laws of academia. In order to pass the final, you need to be passing the quizzes. The purpose of the quiz is to prepare you for the final. Flunk the quizzes, and you'll not pass the final. It's not rocket science. It's the simple truth of life and learning. Remember the quiz these three young adults had in chapter 1 of Daniel? A one-question quiz. Shall we obey the health code of God's Word or not? It wasn't even a multiple-choice question, just yes or no. They had to answer. A lot of people think that healthful living is no big deal. But if those boys had failed the quiz in chapter 1, there'd have been no final exam in chapter 3. Trust me. Living in a community that gives a lot of lip service to healthful living even makes the cover of a national magazine now and then. We forget that the purpose of God's health code is not so much to elongate our lives as it is to innervate our minds and embolden our hearts to live radically obedient lives in allegiance to God. No matter what society or the world might say or command. Of course, the quizzes aren't all on health. Some are on sex and finances and integrity and pride. But the purpose is the same, to prepare you for the final. Quote, "Day by day God instructs his children. By the circumstances of the daily life, he is preparing them to act their part upon that wider stage to which his providence has appointed them. It is the issue of the daily test that determines their victory or defeat in life's crises." End quote. The Desire of Ages, page 382. God's daily quizzes shape his moral giants. That's why he chose you. This concludes our reading today of God's Dream for You, The Chosen.